You are my buddy until the end. More than a buddy, you're my best friend. In the era of unoriginality and running out of ideas and needing to make money quickly, all films are being remade, especially in horror, and Child's Play is no exception. But I'll tell you what, I was a supporter of this one since the minute it was announced, because Chucky is my favorite horror icon of all time, and this is a completely different take. If you're not gonna make the same thing twice, I'm all for it. Quick recap of how I grade things on this channel. I use a light spectrum of color. So we got the cool colors as the good grades. You got the green, the blue, and the purple, and then the warm colors are the not great grades, the yellow, orange, and the red. Red it's really not great. I don't think anyone's opinion should alter how you feel about a film. You should form your own opinions. This is me sharing my thoughts and encouraging discussion. Go in my comments. If you think differently than me, speak up. This is not a battle, this is fun. Movies are about fun. It ain't that serious. So Child's Play 2019 is a reimagining of the old 1980s classic. It's not a reboot. I want to stress that. A reboot, to me, is almost a beat-for-beat sort of remake of an old film. This is a reimagining. A good example would be like the Planet of the Apes movies that came out in the past few years. That's a reimagining because they're almost nothing like the originals. So it gives a fresh take and it gives the remake a purpose. And you know what? Chucky Boy over at 3C Films said it best. The old Chucky's still living on through a TV show and probably even some more straight-to-DVD movies. So we all win. So this version is vastly different from the original. In the old one, the doll came to life because a serial killer implanted his soul into the doll via voodoo. This film has no trace of any supernatural element. It is purely an AI doll. If you guys don't know what AI stands for, that's artificial insemination. So after a quick Bing search, I found out it was artificial intelligence. They're all search engines. It doesn't matter. But yes, this doll is sort of a technological statement of where we're at now with Alexa and all that bullshit. He can tap into the cloud, he can wave his ET finger and turn on your TV if you tell him to, play some music. Hey Chucky, turn up the temperature 2 degrees, because if the room is below 70, my dick gets chapped. But with all that in mind, the film still does follow the same characters as the original did. The kid Andy Barkley, though he's a little older in this version, Karen Barkley, his mom, and Detective Mike Norris. But the thing that really makes this film stand apart is the fact that in the old one, Chucky was a murderous doll. He just wanted to get into Andy's body. Oh, that sounded bad. He wants Andy's body so he can live through Andy's via transportation of soul into child. Just read the synopsis online, it'll sound much more legal. But in this version, the doll imprints on its owner. So when it imprints on Andy, it wants to be his best friend. It's going to do anything to make Andy happy. And you can probably already see where this is going to go wrong. Chucky is a very likable, lovable, adorable character, honestly, for the first half of this film. I felt for the doll, even though he's not even alive, that there's a lot of touching moments between Chucky and Andy. Andy's a loner in this film, so he doesn't have a lot of friends, and Chucky's always there, and oh, that's where that song comes in. You got a friend in me. You got a friend. Chucky is voiced by Mark Hamill in this film, not Brad Dourif from the original, and they're totally different versions. I will always love Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky, but Mark Hamill's not doing the same thing. Mark Hamill plays this as a toy. You know, he comes off a little bit more robotic, but that's intentional, and it works. He has such a sympathetic touch that he gives to Chucky. Man, I don't even think I would refer to this as a horror film, honestly. I would almost refer to it as like a sad friendship drama. And that's okay, I liked it a lot. It is a very fast-paced film. That's not necessarily a bad thing. What's bad is that when it gets to the parts that it should be suspenseful, it's really not, because they cut from one scene to the next so fast that they never give the tension and the scene room to marinate inside of me. It could have benefited so much more if they would have just taken an extra 60 seconds per scene to build up the conflict. But instead, they show you one thing, and within 20 seconds or whatever, it's on to the next thing, and it doesn't flow properly. It does feel very choppy. Another thing, every era of film has a trend. What is today's trend in horror? A group of kids, right? You know, Stranger Things, It. That's the big thing right now. This film tries to replicate that, but they don't do it right, because the group of kids that Andy meets, you know, Andy has no friends at first, but when he does make friends, they just become his friends almost with no explanation. Kids that we see earlier in the film that we know nothing about are all of a sudden in Andy's life and in his group of friends now. When did that happen? It's like, who the fuck are you? I don't care if you live or die. And some things, you know, in the later half of the film to me just didn't make sense. They show you one thing and it's like, oh no. And then they show you another thing later and it's like, oh, well then what was the point of that thing? Overall, I really did enjoy this film. I think it is meant to be seen, and as its own film, this is a fresh take. I do recommend seeing it. Just don't expect a perfect film.